Terbo is looking for a new crew chief. Chris Windom is joining Heffner for some sprint car shows. We've got an update on Pennsboro Speedway and more. Let's go. It's Friday, March 3rd. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is Dirt Tracker Daily. On this final show of the week, we'll get into some of the racing ahead this weekend. There's a fair bit of news from yesterday to talk about as well, and that's where we're going to start. We're still about 2 weeks away from the Lucas season restarting at Atomic Speedway, but between now and then, Best Performance Motorsports with driver Tyler Erb are in search of a new crew chief. Found out yesterday that longtime head wretch Randall Edwards has departed Best after more than 8 years to take over as crew chief for Lucas rookie Garrett Smith. Edwards cited his desire to slow down a bit. Smith doesn't run nearly as often as Erb, even with a full Lucas run on tap. And just to give you an idea of Erb's grueling schedule, a year ago he competed in 124 race nights from January 7th through December 3rd, and that's according to my race pass. And there's no indication that the team will slow down at all this year. And on the flip side, Smith ran 72 nights and will probably run a similar amount of nights in 2023. So that's a huge difference, 120 plus versus 70. Makes sense why Randall might want to slow down a little bit after so long. Edwards replaces Cody Mallory, who departed the Smith team during Speed Weeks. This move definitely feels like an upgrade for the young Smith and a blow here to Best. We don't know yet who will replace Edwards on Turbo's car, and I'll be curious to see how this affects their performance. Erb is usually good for a handful of Lucas wins a season, but has yet to really compete for a series championship. His best season was 2019 when he finished 4th in the final rundown, and since then he's had points finishes of 5th, 5th, and 6th the previous 3 years. Right now, though, after Speed Weeks, he actually finds himself way down the order in 12th. He's 275 points behind Ricky Thornton Jr. We'll see this new pairing of Smith and Edwards at the next Lucas event on March 17th at the Atomic Speedway. Quick side note here, I want to point out a few new channel members who have signed on in recent days. Big thanks to Inverted, Bill, and Paul for their added support of the channel. Becoming a channel member here on YouTube is just one of several ways you can support what I'm doing here. It's $2.99 a month and you get added perks, including a free decal. Check out the full details or sign up. Click the join button on these videos or visit youtube.com/dirttracker. There's also a link in the video description below. I would also encourage you to subscribe to the channel. That's free, and you can get merch at shop.dirttracker.com. You can sign up for Dirt Tracker Plus for added stats and analysis, and there's all sorts of good stuff at dirttracker.com and across the various social media platforms. Hit up at Dirt Tracker on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for more. One of the areas of the XR universe I've been curious about is the progress of the revitalization of Pennsboro Speedway in West Virginia. With North Wilkesboro now fully in the hands of NASCAR and Speedway Motorsports, XR's next racetrack revival is happening at Pennsboro, and Barry Braun gave us a public update on social media yesterday. He says planning begins next week to start getting the track ready for a return in 2024, and a lot of work is needed. They need to work on bridges, lights, they need to get the hillside ready for fans, and a whole lot more. Pennsboro's location and topography create some unique challenges for organizers because of the two creeks that actually cross the racetrack in multiple places. There's also a lack of available parking and the fact that there have never really been true main grandstands there. The creeks cross the track in 3 different places. That's why Barry mentioned bridges, and the facility needs serious upgrades along with a lot of logistical thinking. As progress continues, we'll keep you updated on the show with how it's going. Barry also said any series or sanctions interested in running at Pennsboro can reach out to him with more information. We talked last week about the change of teams ahead for Chris Windom for 2023. He's moving from Hayward Motorsports to Lane Racing for a full All-Star run this year, and he's bringing a NOS energy drink with him. But it was announced yesterday that he's going to add even more races to his early season slate. This weekend, he'll run Lincoln and Port Royal with Heffner and be back in that car next week when the World of Outlaws are at Port. And he may continue the following weekend as well at Williams Grove and Lincoln. Windom won't officially start with Lane until the All-Star season starts in April, but this will be a chance to get back in a car and get some laps in central Pennsylvania. Heffner has no other plans in place right now for the remainder of the year, but crew chief Ben Engel told Jeremy Elliott they are talking to other drivers. Lincoln is slated to continue their season on Saturday. Port Royal opens their year on Sunday. Both of those races can be watched live on Flow. And down in Florida on Sunday, the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series will be back in action for the first of 2 days at Volusia. This is a new event this season and coincides with Bike Week happening down in Daytona. Sunday will feature the regular 10,000 to win program, but also the remainder of the Dirt Car Nationals finale that was postponed from a few weeks ago. So you're getting a Sunday doubleheader here. And that second race will pay 16,000 to win. The series will also crown the Big Gator champion. David Gravel swept the first 2 nights at Volusia, and he is in the driver's seat for the Gator. Logan Schuchart, Carson Macedo, trailing a little bit in the points for that Big Gator. Like, probably not a great chance here with only one race left, but, if Gravel has trouble, these guys will certainly be in the mix. In the way too early season standings for the World of Outlaws, Gravel currently leads Buddy Kofoid, Schuchart, Sheldon Haudenschild, and Macedo after just those first 2 nights. The series will stick around and race again on Monday night for another full program before they truck north to Pennsylvania for Port Royal weekend. That Port Royal weekend will also see the introduction of the new Hoosier Sprint Car tires. If you're curious about how that's all going, check my show earlier in the week where we talked about the rollout and how it's all going to kind of work for teams getting those Hoosiers. As is always the case, you can watch the Outlaws live over on Dirt Vision. If you want some other racing this weekend, don't forget about the Spring Nationals and March Madness at Cherokee. Spring Nationals are at Swainsboro tonight for 10,000 to win, and then they head to Sonoya on Saturday for another 10,000 to win show. At practice last night at Swainsboro, they had Brandon Overton, Ross Bales, Carson Ferguson, Ashton Winger, Will Rowland, Clay Knight, and others. With the Outlaw shows at Smoky Mountain Speedway off, these races should draw a few more guys. Both of these Southern Nationals nights are live on Flow Racing. And then on Sunday, a lot of these drivers will head to Cherokee in South Carolina for March Madness. This is a Southern All-Star show, and it pays $20,000 to win. This one can be watched live on XR+. XR Plus has picked up the full Southern All-Stars schedule this season. This was another one, Southern All-Stars, that were on Flow that have now departed Flow. They are expecting right now 35 cars at Cherokee with the possibility of more additions. I mentioned this field earlier in the week, but some names to expect include Chris Madden, Mike Marlar, Ryan Gustin, Overton, Jimmy Owens, J.R. Smith, Peyton Freeman. We also know that Chris Ferguson is planning on racing, and he's recently added a new Longhorn chassis to his fleet of race cars. He'd been a Bloomquist Zero guy, so we'll see how he gets on with the new Longhorn. Sunday Hot Lap start at 12:45 p.m. Eastern, racing at 1:30. Drop me a comment. Let me know if you're headed out to the racetrack anywhere this weekend, what you'll be watching across the streaming services. Also, let me know if you have any win picks. And speaking of that streaming schedule, pretty good weekend across all of the services. Most of the platforms have at least something going on. Like I mentioned, World of Outlaws sprint cars on Dirt Vision. Flow Racing has a few different things, including those Spring Nationals late models and the 410 racing from Lincoln and Port Royal. There's also races across Speed Sport and Clay Preview, XR Plus, and more. To see the full daily streaming schedule with links to watch, visit dirttracker.com/watch tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in all week. I hope you have a good weekend out there. We'll be right back here on Monday for more Dirt Tracker Daily.